ABC News with Celise Gibson. Good morning. The threat from a bushfire in the state's lower southeast has reduced. The CFS has sent reinforcements to the blaze at Markalat near Padthaway. The fire is burning within containment lines, despite several outbreaks late last night. It's burned through thousands of hectares of scrub and grassland in terrain which the CFS says is difficult to access. Residents in the region have been advised to shut their doors and windows until the smoke disperses. And a grass fire in Solomon on the Eyre Peninsula, which started late yesterday afternoon, has now been controlled. The federal government has announced it'll phase out the powers which regulate the export and distribution of citrus into the US market. The export efficiency powers will remain in place for 2 years, while Horticulture Australia reviews the current setup. But a new committee will replace the single importer arrangements into the US from February next year. The CEO of Citrus Australia, Judith Damiani, says it's found many of its growers now support the change.
What we've found in the last couple of months is that more of the growers and packers that supported keeping things as they are now wanted to see some change. So we've had a big swing in our industry in favour of change.
The Mayor of Ceduna, Alan Suter, is predicting a commitment by the state Liberals over marine parks will generate a significant election issue. The Liberals have announced that if elected, they'd immediately withdraw and review park sanctuary zones and bring in a threat-based approach. Mr Suter says to some people, the issue will turn the election into a referendum over marine parks.
You shouldn't underestimate how devastating the plans as they've been drawn up are for regional South Australia. There's a massive amount of concern out in the community. If the government doesn't reassess, I think it'll hurt them badly.
Fishermen in the southeast say they're pleased with the demand for seafood in the lead up to Christmas. The Carpenter Rocks Fishermen's Association says it's been a particularly good season for rock lobster, with numbers up on last year. The association's president, Chris Von Stanke, says current prices are fairly consistent with the last 2 years, around $60 a kilogram. Mr Von Stanke says the demand for rock lobster has also been steady.
We've been having good orders sort of all over the place. They should start picking up for the Chinese New Year. It's on the 10th of February, so you'd think next week or two we should start to see a spike in price.
Duck and quail hunters say they're expecting good numbers during next year's hunting season. The state government announced last week it'll allow a hunting season in 2013. It says waterfowl across southeastern Australia are at their second highest level since 1985. The president of the South Australian Field and Game Association, David Wren, says duck and quail hunters around the state have welcomed the decision.
It gives them a great opportunity to get out with their mates. Often duck hunters only catch up on 2 or 3 times a year on their favourite wetlands and enjoy a bit of companionship.
The duck hunting season will open on the 16th of February, while the quail hunting season will start a month later. There's mixed reports from the Eyre Peninsula grain growers in the region's harvest wrap from local marketer EP Grain. The report says the north and west of the peninsula has high protein grain but poor yields, despite a reasonable start. The central region has the most varied yield and quality, with most early sown and early harvested wheat and barley crops outperforming the rest. On the lower Eyre Peninsula, canola results have been strong. EP Grain says regions close to Port Lincoln have seen favourable reaping conditions, resulting in a quick and efficient harvest. Lifeline are encouraging people to take care of their mental health during Christmas. Media and Government Relations Officer for Lifeline, John Mendel, says the holiday season can bring on stress and heightened emotions. He says people in isolated areas can find it difficult to be alone during a time associated with being with loved ones. Mr Mendel says the closure of services around this time of the year can add to the feeling of isolation.
People do feel isolated in rural communities and regional communities. Quite often they feel distance from services. And, at times like Christmas, it can add an additional weight to that burden.
To the weather now. We can expect some areas of cloud with possible isolated morning showers south of about Port Lincoln to Adelaide to Keith. There's also the chance of isolated showers and thunderstorms in the far northeast. It's going to be mild about the southern coast today, grading to very hot in the northeast. Northerly winds over the northeast pastoral district ahead of a gusty southerly change extending northwards. ABC News.